Greetings to all of you, and of course, welcome to the People's Movement Show, the platform where Guyanese have got the opportunity, as well as those who are not Guyanese, to share in matters that pertain to issues, news, and other events in Guyana, South America. This is a platform which Guyanese understand, I know that they do, by now, that we're independent thinkers. We are at liberty to think for ourselves. We are at liberty to generate or formulate personal thoughts and convictions. And we are at liberty to share them. We are called independent thinkers. At the People's Movement, or within this group of Guyanese who spread all across the world, even those who are not Guyanese, we also understand the power of disagreement. Thank you for sharing, Debbie. And we have the right to do so. We have the right to disagree. But we do not have the right to be disrespectful to each other because we're in disagreement. I'm so overjoyed to be able to sit with you this evening. I would have been happy if it were under different circumstances. But there are significant matters, as you'll be aware of by now, that we should address as the People's Movement. We believe that we should hold every elected and selected official accountable. And in that context, we speak about, or we speak to, those who've been handpicked by Jagdeo or Granger to sit in the House of Assembly or at regional levels in reference to RDCs, the Democratic Councils. They're handpicked, they're chosen, they're selected. Even mayors are selected. And then there's a sham election that they call it the caucus when the council gets together to choose a mayor. They're chosen long before. And so all of these officials we deem to be elected and selected. We hold them accountable. They are supposed to serve the people. Every bearer of an office of responsibility in this country, politically, is there to serve the people. They are servants of the people. Irfan Ali is paid to be a public servant. That is why when they increases for the public service, the other line that speaks to the constitutional officers, that's what they call. The members of parliament are called constitutional officers. They too are paid to serve the people. Those that we call ministers in government, they are paid to serve us. But we know, given the culture over the years, that these people behave, even now, behave as if they own this country and they own us. These broadcasts are geared towards changing that paradigm that we are thinking. And I'm so happy that the message is becoming clearer and clearer with each passing day. If you can both see and hear clearly, would you be kind enough to indicate that you can do so? Also, Facebook is limiting my reach, so please, if you don't mind, share the broadcast with someone. I just have about 2 days left before they begin to release the restrictions which will allow for you to have notifications of my being present in a much faster way. So I appreciate those of you who are here. Thank you for being here. Of course, with me this evening is none other than Jinnah. He's here with me in studio, so we shall present him. Here, there he is, our brother Jinnah Rahman. And there are so many matters for us to discuss this evening. Good to see you, my brother. Welcome to the People's Movement Show. Your microphone is muted, of course. But there are many matters for us to talk about. However, we speak to the chaos that's ensuing in our country. Every right-thinking Guyanese should be concerned about the events that are unfolding before you as we speak, numerous though they may be. And Brother Jinnah and I are here to discuss them. We have not shared our views before we came on the broadcast. Hence, whatever you hear would be in real time. us having discussions as two Guyanese men about the events that have occurred in our country. Brother Jenner as well has, and we need a separate broadcast for that. He has got some footage from Region 3 where farmers who have in themselves, of themselves, spoken to being supporters of the PPP, but they're complaining about the plight that they face. We saw the works being done on a bridge, and the bridge, according to what we're hearing, is about or would at some point collapse because the necessary infrastructure to sustain or keep it upright is missing. We heard of persons being granted contracts and they are failing to do what they should in reference to infrastructural work. And so Brother Jin is doing an amazing work in Region 3 in terms of representation. Now, he's not an elected official, neither is he a selected official. However, he's a functional citizen and a functional resident there in Region 3. He has no qualms sharing with the society the plight of the people. On a daily basis, he engages in the affairs of residents of Region 3 and other parts of Guyana, because that is exactly what the people's movement is about. We do not have to be elected to serve you. We serve because it's our responsibility. At least that's how we see it. Our moral conscience tells us that we should serve you. We don't have to lead first, as Norton said, when he's elected, then he would act on certain things. No. Here in the people's movement, this group of individuals, some faces we see more often than others, we believe that we have a responsibility to serve people at all costs. It doesn't matter whether you're elected or selected. So, my brother, here you are with us this evening. And when you greet the guests, I'll get into what I would love for us to discuss in reference to chaos in the country. And let us hear your views and mine about these matters.
The issues are so much. You'll have to regulate which one you want to deal with, because we can spend the whole morning talking about so many issues here. The country is in real chaos, um, and I think we need to. We don't have enough time to actually deal with these issues on a regular basis. So where do we start? I think the most topical one, of course, it has to do with your case too, where the matter went to court, and that's an issue by itself,
It is.
and it calls into question the legitimacy of the state as an oppressive and exploitative arm of the administration, has been historically been abused by different political parties that come into power. You see, as you quite rightly said, we didn't discuss before we came on air what do we think about the different subject matter. What is ongoing at this moment is the arrest of the mayor of Georgetown and an official of the Alliance for Change. And
Sure, Duncan.
I've been following that story and I responded to it. Now, different people have different views on this matter, but I want to share with people because look, we have to maintain law and order in any country. There is no doubt at all about that. And for us to be good citizens, we have to observe all our laws, even if we want those laws to be changed. At the moment, that's what it is. Um, on the question of the mayor being arrested and charged and be put on bail and he's going to be appearing in court in the morning, is to do with the fact that he prevented the removal of vendors who have been vending in that area, that very, very sensitive area, uh, and he prevented them from moving. The background to that was that he was written many times by by the Georgetown Hospital about the health, about the traffic being blocked by these vendors who were there, and people parking or double parking when vehicles have to come in there, bringing people who are sick or have dead or have accidents and so on. That's the background to this matter. And it's got nothing to do with any politics, any race, any age, any gender, or any religion or anything of that sort. It's a person who has an accident coming to the hospital on the street that where they're supposed to arrive, and there is hindrance, serious hindrance, and that's the issue. And the fact that the mayor did not, over the years, have not done any single thing, have not met any one of the officials, have not responded to the correspondence which are publicly known now, published in the papers, letters sent to the mayor, and he did nothing. The mayor and the city council did nothing about it. That is that is a complete abrogation of responsibility. We can't have people placed in that situation and not acting responsibly, regardless, because the mayor is elected. They took an oath. The funny thing about these people who are elected is all of them, whether they be NDC councillors, regional councillors, members of parliament, they take an oath to uphold the constitution. They take a pledge to serve all the people in the constituency and all over the country without fear, without favor. All of them. And every single one of them have failed in their responsibility to act fairly, justly, and impartially. Every one of them. I don't know any one of them who I could say, maybe they are, who I could say has actually lived up to the pledge. I don't repeat the pledge. I pledge to hold to this, whatever in Ghana. You know why I don't do that? Because I think it's a waste of time. Why do I repeat something that I don't, I, I can't put into practice?
But some persons are asking, and I too have got a view on this matter. I would have done a broadcast this morning about it, and I did that on a personal, independent basis. Now we are here speaking from the People's Movement Show, and we have a right, of course, have different views. One of the most burning questions is, for how long? Because I've lived in Ghana up until 2002, I think it was, or 3. Then I migrated and returned 15 plus years later. And ever since I was here, when I was studying in Georgetown and working, vendors were there. So this is not New Brighton Rhine issue here alone. New Brighton Rhine. There was Hamilton Green. I think the other lady, I can't remember her name, the other mayor that came after him. Was it Chase? Patricia Chase?
Yes, Chase.
Right,
Yes.
correct. And so we have these people vending there for decades. Now, it means, therefore, that under successive administrations, the vendors were still in this area. There were times when the road was bad. There were holes in the road, and they were still vending there, so it made it even worse. Here is my contention, and we can discuss this, Brother General. My contention is that, yes, it is the mayor's responsibility, the council, as a matter of fact, the mayor city council responsibility, to ensure that the roadways are maintained and that order is maintained in the city. If that be the case, and there are encumbrances in reference to traffic, listen carefully to my argument here. We have to not only deal with the hospital as being a sensitive area, because if someone in Regent Street gets into an accident or has an issue, and the ambulance has to access Regent Street, what about those vendors on the road, preventing me from driving as freely as I should? I do recall situations in which a decision was taken to have persons removed, and they were sent right back there, where decisions of the council had been overridden. And so this is room for a healthy discussion. What I do know is, it is my view that if the decision was taken at night to remove the caravans, the council and the mayor should certainly have been informed. That is my view. I don't know how you feel about that. They should have at least been informed that this operation is about to take place. And also, the vendor should have been met yet again. And we have to be considerate of the fact that we had 2 years of this COVID situation, they call it, Brother Jinnah, where these people couldn't work for such a long time and all that happened. People are still yet to recover. If you're not a supporter of the PPP and you don't have the first-hand handouts that are passing, or you're not a supporter of APNU, because both sides benefiting in reference to background stuff that's happening. So if you're not in a particular position, you would have suffered immensely over this 3 year period. What is in place for these people if they remove the caravans and the stalls removed at night? They show up the next morning. There's no form of employment for them. So you can speak to that. For one, I say the mayor should have been engaged. Secondly, I would say that the council must be respected and highly regarded. And thirdly, what about region and other streets where people are on the road with their stalls blocking me from driving freely? I can't even park. And then police send me and park in the wrong place.
There are lots of issues, brother. As I said, on this subject matter that we can talk about. And you are absolutely right about the fact that it's a chronic situation. And you are right when you raise the issue as a whole, not only in that particular area, but the whole of Georgetown. Why should we have people selling little things on the streets of Georgetown, on the main street of Georgetown, that shows uh, a level of poverty and disorganization that nobody has taken into consideration. Nobody's looking into training these people who are sending. These people are forced to sell things on the street to make a living. That's basically what it is.
Exactly.
And we need to tackle the root cause of these problems. It is a lack of uh, a policy and program by successive government, going back to the days of Desmond Hoyt, where they have put things in place that does not policies and programs that does not benefit the ordinary people. They have not put an economic structure in place that benefit the ordinary people, and that's where it goes back, right back to the PNC, right back to the
Remember?
PNC.
Do you remember when Robeson Ben had moved the people from the seawall, said they need to stop, and then Jaguar showed up and said no, let them continue. And Jaguar shut Ben down and said leave the people alone. I remember that vividly because
Not
Jaguar showed
only
up.
not only there. I remember Ben coming and breaking down people's homes in on the west coast of Damara. I
Do
remember
you
that
remember?
distinctly, yes. And he himself was there doing it, allowing them breaking them. And this is an establishment, a regime that virtually allowed those people to squat
Right there.
on the west coast of the Marara East Bank on the old railway line. Up to today, as I speak to you, and I was investigating one of these matters I was investigating, have these people been given title? They have not been given title yet, and therefore, how did they build those houses, those beautiful houses that they built on the railway line? They had to get money from the banks and use other means of getting money because to get more money from the bank, you have to have title for the land that you are
Correct.
actually on. So
Correct.
there's so I mean, one has to be so careful about what one say. Even we live under a dictatorship, a constitutional dictatorship, and they're
And on
using.
that note, sorry, permit me, but on that note, because as we speak this
Oh,
evening,
go
of
ahead.
course tonight,
We have a conversation.
there's certain pointed matters. Yes, when we speak to dictatorship, it's so important that you raise it because the mayor spoke about that with Rashid Ryan. But you and I both, and I wish we could have had Brother Oren. I think we'll have on another broadcast because he served as a counselor, an independent one nonetheless, in the NDC in Port Morant. There has to be, and this would reinforce what you and I have said before. where there's no true local governance in this country. It could be you've lived in the UK, I've lived in the US and other parts of the world, and I've seen where in the US, for example, in New Jersey and other places, the mayors have authority over the police force. Now, this is a very important point. The council or the sheriff answers to the council, to the mayor. This is critical because the city indeed has leverage and power to function. What you find happening here is that a dictator is saying to do something, and then down the line, you have persons executing that dictate, bypassing relevant authorities. I would have been better served if there were a court order served to the mayor of Georgetown, of the city of Georgetown, and the councillor saying that there is an order based on a particular act, the Local Government Act or Municipalities Act, where you're going to execute this in keeping with the law because you failed to do so. So somebody will have to bring a charge against the council, a complaint, and it's the court gives an order based on the law. That didn't happen. What we had happening was persons are saying there's encumbrance in this street here, move the people. The mayor and the city council have yet to exercise their authority. Even if they fail to do so, I do not believe that you should bypass what is proper and go and say, well, the mayor is now non-existent and we do what we have to do. Because I argue again, if we do that, what happens to the other streets and other parts of Guyana where there's so much encumbrance? What goes for one must go for all, my baby.
Brother, if you recall, only not very long ago, the same administration that is controlled by the PNC, they tried to impose parking meters without proper consultation with the
Yes,
people of Georgetown, which created a whole set of problem. And up to today, that has been washed away because millions of dollars were paid to these people, these parking meter people. I think they brought some case against them,
yes,
where and very senior people from the PNC. In fact, the General Secretary of the PNC, Oscar Clark, who was the chair, who I don't know whether he still is, um, was the treasurer of the city council, and they were the ones who signed this secret agreement to bring these people into setting up these expensive parking meters. You know what I mean? So all of them, every single one of these politicians, it doesn't matter which party they belong to, have been violating the laws of this country for more than 50 years. That's the reality. And what is happening is that nobody wants to stand up and speak the truth and say it as it is, because we grew up in a very tribalistic society where we are told that we can't criticize our brothers and sisters. You must talk about it only internally, and so therefore we are silent by that culture of not discussing. Like Hamilton Green will never criticize the PNC in on the Sharma television. He will not do that.
no,
I and there are reasons for that. So these people are complicit in allowing order and disorder in this country. Every single one of them. I wrote something just now before we came on here, which I would
uh,
like to read to you about what
okay,
I said. One sentence. What I wrote. I said the citizens of Georgetown did not vote Mr. Narayan because of the undemocratic system of the election of mayor, independent of any political party. So what it is that the Georgetown mayor is voted in by the party that commands the highest amount of votes. What you said earlier. And then I said, that is why he has to toe the party line. He doesn't have a sense of independence. And our position, or the people's movement position, as I understand it, is that we are calling for people to be thinking independently and acting independently and not be dictated by this party or the other party. That we have the right to actually agree to disagree, and we don't have that type of culture in this country. Fortunately, we have a group of people who are listening to us, who I think understand what we are talking about, and that's why they come back and they share the program, because they believe what we are saying is the right thing to do. So we have our problem is that we have a
You've muted your microphone. Your mic is muted for some reason. Okay, it's open now.
yes. What I'm saying is, if I could repeat it, um, I'm saying that we live under a constitutional dictatorship, and it
We
doesn't
do.
matter which political party comes to office unless we change the constitution to give power to the people. Then we are going to suffer the consequences that we are now experiencing as we speak.
But Brother Jenna, does the Constitution give power to the mayor in reference to this situation? Does the Constitution give power to the mayor to govern the affairs of the city? It does.
It does,
The
but it, but
Constitution
it, but
gives
it's,
power to the
but
mayor
it's
to
done.
ensure that
But it's
vending and
done.
everything else is handled and
The
regularized in a proper
difference
manner.
is the difference is that the mayor has not got the franchise of the people. He has to depend on the party, because the party has the power to remove him at any time. So he doesn't have a sense of independence. If the
Now, now,
mayor,
now
like
that's
in
noteworthy
London,
for us to discuss.
huh?
That's critical for us to discuss. If the view is that the mayor, in this case Narayan, does not have the people's support. But now we saw people, a few vendors were there today, and I'm happy that they took the stance. I saw Norton finally come out. I don't know where he was, but of course, once you see a crowd, they'll show up because they see the people are there. I know how it goes. And they haven't said it that the people must lead. I could not hear anything worse than that again. Where they're saying that the people must lead, then the politicians are going to follow. Now, I don't understand that to be leadership, but I was nonetheless heartened to see the likes of Roysdale Ford, Darren Wade. He's not necessarily a leader of the party. Coretta McDonald was seen later on. You saw Amanza Walton, Desir, Sherrod Duncan, uh, and then later on I saw Norton.
Brother, they're left in the cold. You know that word? They are left in the cold. And if I think the mayor, Pandit Narain, he had been left on his own, and he felt a sense of frustration that nothing is being done to actually bring this administration into understanding that this is the capital city of Georgetown, and it is a rubbish tip. How are you going to, let's broaden the discussion. The central administration of this country is acting within the dictatorial constitution, that the president is immune from any wrongdoing, so he can lock up I and you, and we can't take
Exactly.
him to court. We can't take him to court because he can instruct. They have just taken another action on Obraj, where the GDF has removed he has some kind of position in the GDF, and they have actually remove it from him as a reserve GDF sergeant or something of that sort. I think it's a register. It just came out. So what is happening is that we are seeing the nakedness of the dictatorship, put it this way, because it's been exposed. And what one of the things that Obraz has done is to actually, and he himself said it, probably unconsciously, because he's not a political animal like
No,
me or you.
no.
He has said it unconsciously, that he has felt the full measure of the state. And what that is what that is saying is that he has exposed them and forced them to take an action because he said, I don't care if you lock me up. Come and lock me up. So he's actually challenged them. And
and
they had to
and
do that.
but it, yeah, but
Because
if
if they didn't do that,
sorry, if we
we end
engage
up in 3 weeks.
in what are they, because I for one do not disagree with what the mayor said or asked, because his question is pertinent given what surrounds even the affairs of him as mayor. For one, you see the army being brought out to clean drains in Georgetown and collect garbage. Irfan Ali talk about this cleanup story he had, the hype he had, and then I saw where they were instructed every month people must come and the neighborhoods and all kinds of foolishness. But hear me carefully, please, people. This is the mayor's responsibility, the council's responsibility. So the fact that the president, who's paid to be president, Irfan Ali, could go beyond yet again the reach of what the council should do and decided he's going to lead in reference to Joshua being clean is an embarrassing situation and disrespect for the local government. Because Irfan Ali even said today when I listened to him that various offices of his in reference to the administration, they go beyond even what their office speaks to reach out into these local communities to help. Now, my point is, when did that become acceptable? How do you go beyond an office of the mayor, for example, and you decide you're going to clean the city? So is that not a direct political attack against Yubaji Narain and by extension the PNC?
I am not defending the administration.
By no means.
The fact is that we need to examine the finality of these things. The constitution allows the central government to actually the minister of local government to do all kinds of things,
Ah,
and this has happened under the Granger administration, who had the powers to actually remove. They did, to his credit, Granger did make some changes in the local government,
yes.
where he set up the local government commission. But what he didn't do is he didn't set up the local government. So he removed some powers from the minister and gave it to the local government commission. But the fact of the matter is they pack these things with their party hack. So what's the point? What point does it make?
Why
Because
have why have a minister, the brother general? Why have a minister responsible for local government? Tell me why.
the minister of local government has certain powers. Like for instance, he had they had an overreach. Like for instance, you remember he tried to change the constituency.
Constituencies,
Right,
exactly.
right. Now that is not should not be within his remit. You see, if you examine the American Constitution, you will see that the American Constitution, our Constitution, is a kind of a hybrid of the American Constitution. We need to discuss it and study it carefully. But what they didn't do, Burnham and Jagan, because Jagan agreed virtually with the Constitution when he was asked, when he was criticizing the Constitution and called it a Burnham's Constitution. When he came to office and became the president, and when we people asked him in London and here in Guyana, so what? Why don't you change the Constitution and those things that you were talking about? You know what he said? I am not going to use those things against the people. That's what he
You
said.
wouldn't change it.
So,
You just use it.
no, he wouldn't use it, he said. So it
Right.
was, so if you're not going to change it, it means that you agree with it. All right. But who's using it now? Jagdeo has used it extensively.
Yes.
Extensively, he has used it. And time doesn't allow us to go into how Jagdeo has completely abused the Constitution. There's another aspect of the thing that I wanted us to discuss tonight, even maybe even briefly, and we can come back to it. When the mayor said that Irfan Ali wants to set up on this nonsense about him being excellency president, it's all nonsense.
It is.
Nonsense. He is the president. He's the servant of the people. And as a Muslim, he has no other honor of being a servant of the people. So I don't understand. Look what has happened when he said that, when the mayor said that he wants to turn the country in an Islamic state. Well, he's virtually doing that. He's actually using the constitution to implement, to give his friends, his relatives who are Muslims, giving them concession over the Hindu community. That is not a lie. There are evidences of it. I'll give you one evidence.
Uh-huh.
One evidence that I give you, and I can send you the photograph tomorrow morning so that people can see it. That the regional chairman of Region 3 is married to a fellow who has a chicken farm not far away from me in my area where I live. And he broke up the dam that we have to go in to do our farm, or
Uh-huh.
rice field and so on, and other farmers. He broke it down to the extent to which we protested. And do you know what they did? Rather than repairing that particular dam so that he can use it and all the other farmers
Right.
can use it, you know what they did? They built an all-weather road
To his farm.
a couple rods away. You see that? And I'm going to take a photograph in the morning and I'm
Please
going
do.
to write a story about it. And this guy is a Muslim. The regional chairman is the maternal uncle of the president of this country. And time wouldn't allow me to go into more details. But the regional chairman has his son-in-law who actually negotiate contracts for people who are Muslim, their brothers and their sisters and their friends. Look, you know that video I sent out to the farmers. The contract that was given to these guys who are actually not doing the work are people who have absolutely no experience in construction. Did you hear me? They have no experience in construction. And one of them, it is reported or alleged that he is related to the junior minister of works.
Oh.
You understand? So more and more, as these farmers who are traditional supporters of the PPP are becoming very, very angry, as you saw. Historically, they were their parents and my parents were staunch activists of the PPP, not just supporters, you know. So this is what is happening. They don't know how to handle these matters because the corruption is so steep. It is smelling from distance away. So what
It,
you see, when the mayor said, and this is an important aspect, and I hope to speak about
yes,
it
very important.
on trauma, what he said about what they're doing, the nepotism, the discrimination, not only racial discrimination, but religious discrimination. That is why the Muslim organizations have come out in defense of
Yes.
Irfan Ali
Yes.
because they were the ones going around the mosque and telling them to vote for Irfan Ali.
Now let us put a pin right there, my brother, because this is important. I have heard Muslims say, and I recall when they said that you must, in 2015, you must vote for your brother,
Yes,
Irfan. That's what they said. They
that's
never
right.
said vote to the PB Civic.
No,
They said you must remember to vote for your brother,
yes,
Irfan.
exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
Irfan did not say, listen, stop this. This is not about religion here in 2015. He didn't say that this should not be the cry from the community. Let us vote for what the party stands for. So he got the support of a community of people who spoke based on his religion. That's a fact.
The Muslims are about 15 to 20% of the voters in this country that supports the PPP. There's a very small minority that votes to the other political party.
Very small.
So
And so the mayor said, and you have got a very strong record in reference to experience here. When the mayor said, he took off, removed that, he said, why you don't want to work with me? Is it because I'm a Hindu? That statement rung tremendously in the PPP's ear, and I know it hurt them. That's why they had to arrest him. They're not doing him yet, because his statement was potent in reference to what he was saying. This goes way to Pakistan and India's issue. It goes into the heart of India's issue and Pakistan's tribal issues, where we're seeing here someone who's a pundit speaking to what he knows to be a fact.
Yes.
Do we have a problem here with Hindus and Muslims? Is that the problem? Please speak to that, because you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I wrote about it, actually. I wrote about it today. I wrote about that today. And I'm going to send it to you. I think I did send it to you already. The fact of the matter is that the people in the island of Legwan, a lot of them who are Hindus, where the chairman of Region 3 lives, where Irfan Ali's relatives come from, they're giving concessions to Muslims in Legwan, as I say, and the farmers who are Hindus are phoning me and telling me, and then calling names. So this is not something that is, is in secret. They openly do this. And the Hindus complain to me. This is the fact. I remember during the election, some Muslim brothers were calling me up and telling me I should support Irfan Ali. I said, why? Why should I support? I'm not a member of the PPP, and I'm not going to support. Nobody can tell me who I must vote for, who I must support. In fact, the truth of the matter is I didn't support none of the political parties.
Right, neither did I.
I support a small group of people who became idiots, but that's another subject matter. The truth of the matter is that there is racial, political, religious, and gender discrimination and age discrimination in this
In our country, yes,
Yeah.
there is.
Those 5 things I can tell you, and anybody who doubts me, I have the facts and the evidence to present to them. And Irfan Ali is incapable of managing any of these things, because you don't build a country on the basis of slogans
No.
and placards and billboards. That's a Stalinist method of development. And you
Yes.
don't do that. We have studied that. We study political economy, right? We were sent to these schools to study it. We understand that. And I told the Minister of Agriculture when I saw him a couple of weeks ago, I said, look, I support your initiative, because when I compare what Granger's Minister of Agriculture did,
He
it
did
was
nothing.
chalk and cheese. So I said to him, I see your interest and your enthusiasm to do things, but let me say this to you openly. I said, you say that you want to reduce food importation into the Caribbean by 25% by 2025. And I
Yes.
say to him that you're not going to be able to do that, brother, because there are a lot of things that are against you, including the lack of support for the farmers.
Yes.
This
True.
is another subject matter, but I raise it with you because I want people to have a very broad view of what we're talking about. That we're not here to defend any single individual or group of individuals.
Correct.
We are here to analyze and speak the truth. That's what
And
we're doing.
correct. And on that note, the mayor said something else, because remember, he's now charged, as you rightly said, and they said he's inciting racial hostility, because he stood there and said these people are predominantly African descendants, and well, he said black people, which you should not refer to them as black people, but he said that, and he said that, is it because of that they've been treated in this manner? For me, his description of the ethnic composition of those vendors is accurate. They are predominantly African vendors. One woman there, Brother Jinnah, was literally shouting at the police and saying, "What am I supposed to do? My son," she said, is a medical student. Listen to her statement. She said they didn't give him a scholarship. I sell food so he can study in University of Ghana. Now, these are cries you're hearing from people because there's a failed system in this country.
Exactly.
Why must the mother have to sell food for her son to be a medical student? in an oil-rich country.
But more than that, brother, we have a useless opposition in this country where the members of parliament, rather than taking, they are reacting to events, as you can see. They are
Of
not proactive. That's the problem. And unless you have people who are proactive, you're not going to make any changes. They're not going to listen to you. The establishment is not going to listen to you. Our brothers and sisters who are listening need to understand that we are run by a country, by a group of people who are a very tiny minority who call themselves the Private Sector Commission,
yes,
who conspired with the U.S. imperialism and the Western powers to remove a democratically elected government led by David Granger. That's a fact of life. They did every single thing to remove Granger and put the PPP, Jagdeo arm of the PPP, into office. That's a fact. And the people who are there, who conspired with them, are big businessmen who are Indians and of Portuguese descent, as Hoyt called them, the Portuguese mafia. They once come again. I wrote an article this morning and sent it to my Facebook. Jerry Govaya was part of the conspiracy, and he said it in an article recently, last week, in the Starbucks
about
Post.
sanctions. That he was communicating with the people and he knew there were going to be sanctions for Granger.
Why would you and I wasn't communicating, or
Oh my
anybody else,
goodness.
with the State Department? If anybody understands how the United States operate, all the embassies of the United States are agents of,
The
it's
state,
a spy agency. That's
yes.
what it is. Nothing to do with diplomacy or embassy or all these type of things. I mean, look what the ambassador of the United States of America is 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 actually giving instructions publicly to this administration.
And the
She
previous
talks
one.
Yes, she talks about praising. The other day she and the rest of them spoke about democracy. And then they spoke about they urged him to actually raise the salary of the nurses, and they did that.
And what did he do?
He praised it.
But Brother Jenna, I mean, you say certain things too quickly at times and people can miss it when you say it.
Okay.
Jerry Gavaya, I saw an article whereby he said that he's aware. He's aware that Granger would have been sanctioned. Now this was the president of the
That's
private
a
sector
weird, brother.
commission.
That's a weak word.
He was
He
he
was
was
part of the
right.
conspiracy.
He
He
didn't say
wasn't
he was part of the
aware.
conspiracy. I'm saying what he said. He said that he knew they were going to be sanctioned because they were in communication with these
They
people.
asked for the sanction. They asked for the sanction.
Oh, exactly. So now, my brother, please, for the sake of those who are like maybe not we're not on the fast end of intellectuality, do Guyanese get what you just said? That Guyanese in this country, not not political agents in reference to officers of a party, in the private sector, they were in communication with the state about Granger.
You see the difficulty we have, brother, and I'm very so glad that you're not in that same trap with some of these guys like David Hines and Ben Scott and Richard Burke. The truth of the matter is that they don't make this very clear distinction that what we have in this country is a class society. That's what it is. And it doesn't matter. They are appealing to the African Guyanese or the Indian Guyanese belonging to the Indian Guyanese who belong to the PNC when they were in office, or to the African Guyanese who are associated with the PPP in office, and they think that they can draw this. They think they can talk to Mark Phillips or Bishop Edzell and say, "Hey, look how they discriminate against African Guyanese, and you're not doing anything about it."
Oh,
What they don't understand, and their ignorance, Ben Scott and these guys and David Hines, that these people are part of a class an elite. They're part of the oppressive elite, and they don't see race
No,
or gender or age. So there's no difference between what Jagdeo does. You see, this whole question, brother, has actually brought to the fore a lot of issues because there is a serious division that the mayor, by words that he said, which he's now apologized for reason that I don't understand.
neither
I
do I.
think I think he said it without he said it knowing to his heart that it's true, but can't find the evidence to defend it, or they must have told him not to withdraw it.
But there is
But
evidence, Brother Jenna. How much more evidence do you need? If the vendors, as I said, the ethnic composition is evident. They are predominantly African Guyanese. Is it coincidental? That is inconsequential. The point is they are predominantly African Guyanese. Now there are vendors who vend in other parts of Guyana. Monopole Road, for example, they don't move them from the Parika Market. You live in Region 3.
look at Parika Market.
Look,
The
do they
Parika
move the
Market,
vendors in there?
the Parika
I can't
Market
drive to the selling properly when it's market day.
is
I can't drive to certain. They stop me on the road, literally. I
yes.
can't go beyond a certain point because it's market day. I don't
Yes.
see anybody moving them from there.
Now look at let me tell you something about people who don't know about Parika. Parika is supposed to be a town. If any place in this country
It should be Parika.
supposed to be a town, is supposed to be Parika.
Yeah.
And both the PPP, PNC, and AFC have not even considered. I remember when I came back from London 10 years ago, sitting in a meeting where um, the PPP were in office, and Clinton Collymore, who was the Minister of Local Government, they came to the meeting, and Kalawan Lal was the minister, and Collymore was the advisor to him. So I came into the meeting because I knew them. We used to work on the Mirror newspaper as journalists. So when I came into the room, they were shocked, but they were friendly. Okay, but they came there 10 years ago to actually lay the foundation for Parika to become a city. You understand? And look, for the purposes of people who don't know Parika, it is the main port where people go to Bartica, they
Yes,
go to the interior, they go to Venezuela, they go to Brazil, they go to Leguan, they go to Wakanam, they go to all the islands, and people come there and they go to Georgetown.
it's a
And
hub.
eh?
It is a hub,
It
and
is a
all
hub,
an economic hub too.
an economic hub, and they have three banks, three commercial banks
Correct,
sitting next door to each other.
correct.
So the fact of the matter is that, you know, at the station there, you have people vending, blocking the road,
To the station.
blocking the road I'm talking about, not the
Yes.
side of the road,
No.
the center of the road that
So,
divides.
so, so that is my argument, Brother Jinnah.
And you know who
Now,
caused that? You know who caused that? Irfan Ali, when he was Minister of Housing.
what did he
Irfan
do?
Ali stopped the people when we were campaigning. Remember that story with Freddie Kisun and them? When they were forcing the people to go into the market because you had space in the market. Did
Yes.
you know that the Indian government, when Jagdev was president, gave them millions of dollars to rehabilitate that Parika
Parika market.
market?
And
And
they didn't.
if you go there now, my brother was a counselor here in the area, and he was on that committee. And he told me that the Indian architect have given them a layout of that. Now they're spending millions of dollars to now rehabilitate that market. You understand? And all those people now are going to be removed from there and then put in the market, and then you have a road. These people cannot even run a cake shop,
No.
much less running a country.
No.
I've said it
And
a million times.
and if we go to the capital, let's go to the capital. If I want to drive on Water Street and I want to go, let's say, to Munishwars, I cannot get there, Brother Jinnah, because people have got not just stands there or stalls, they put their storage
Yes,
carts on the road,
exactly.
and you dare not tell them to move because these things are immobile. Tires are flat, they rest right there.
Because the PNC, Hamilton Green, who was mayor for 20 years, had no idea, had no plans to move those people.
Correct.
No plans to
So,
move those people. And in
so
fact,
my
because he had no bloody vision about what to do.
correct. My argument is this: why then would you seek in the night to go to move the vendors, mainly women? That is not. You just spoke about gender discrimination. Mainly females. You go to move their caravans from in front of the hospital and leave them without employment. You see, Brother General, and we're about to close now, but let's look at this from another angle. Nurses, we talking to the hospital here now. Nurses got the increase because Sarah Lynn said it has to happen. That's a fact.
The nurses were
Doctors got
leaving,
increase.
brother. The nurses were going to leave to go to United Kingdom. My daughter works in the health service,
Right.
and there are more than
So
150,000 nurses. A
they
shortage in
left.
the United
They
Kingdom.
left because of
Right
poor
now,
nutrition.
they are going on strike. We have
Yes.
a major crisis. So don't you think that Irfan Ali and them would not have been advised? Because they look how it is. The United Kingdom opened their doors to a free visa. But you know who that free visa was for? Is for
Nurses
the
and
free
doctors.
visa is only for nurses. I am
Those
telling
in
you
the health
that.
sector.
I
But
just
but
come back.
but listen. So at the Joshua Public Hospital across Guyana, we turned to the hospital situation here. Nurses got the increase. All that they said is the staff that are connected to health services, they got increases. Doctors got increase, everybody. Look at this. The people who are vending in front of the hospital, and this is a rhetorical question, did they get an increase? Obviously not. So if we examine the situation, these people are in the private sector, not a part of the commission. They are not entitled to any benefit. So how could in the night at night they remove the caravans, remove the stalls, and tell the people essentially that you have nothing to do but to sell somewhere else if you possibly can. Well, they didn't tell them you can go here. Essentially, you can go here. But increases are announced for the people in the hospital. But those who have to rely on their own strength and the strength of customers to survive, they cannot make a living.
I tell you
I
how
am saying
bad
this
it
is
is.
wrong.
Worse than what you're saying. It's worse than what you. These are single mothers
Exactly.
who should have been assisted. If you say you're a caring government, you take care of the most vulnerable people in your community.
Yes.
Jagan always say that.
Always.
Yes, he said many times when we were in the PPP and when he was in government. He said, when you want to judge a society, you have to judge it on the basis of what the administration is doing to the most vulnerable section of society. The most vulnerable section of our society are the women,
Women.
the elderly, and the
Especially
youth,
single
and the,
women,
and the
especially
young,
single mothers,
especially
especially
single
single
mothers.
mothers.
And the
And one
single
of them was
mothers are
saying that
growing exponentially, brother, every
yes,
single day.
yes,
And it's becoming a burden on the
and
society.
and what does the Syrian government do to these single mothers and one who was pregnant? Carry away this caravan at night, as
I
if it's
agree
doing
with
something.
you. I agree with you. I think we missed an important point in terms of legality because they should have taken them to court if they want to take that action and then let the court go through the process of, of issuing them some kind of order and giving them powers to do that. But they didn't do that.
No,
They,
and the
they came
expectation
in the
is as
night.
well.
They came into
Yes,
night like thieves,
like thieves. And the
took them
expectation
away.
is, the expectation
And
is, okay,
Egel should be ashamed of himself, of calling himself a man of God. He's nothing more than a wicked fellow. And if I see him, I will tell him in his face, he's a wicked fellow, and then call the name of Jesus Christ, which is a false prophet, just like him. You see, these guys need to be ridiculed, and we don't have people of moral standing in the opposition to actually ridicule them because they're just like them. This cybercrime act,
oh my
which
Lord.
was this cybercrime act, which I was charged for, brother, as you know. I went to the court, spent $300,000 to defend myself, was implemented by the Granger administration. Now
That's
they're
right.
using it against them.
That's right.
You
Granger
see that?
Spence signed that law, that act into law. Granger
Exactly.
signed that into law. How
Yeah.
could Granger in his right mind? Because that's what he said to the man and Duncan, that you use an electronic device to essentially generate hate. Come on, man. Come on.
I
In
mean,
this, so are we, and we have to close. We hit our 1 hour mark, but you've raised some very pertinent points. I think the police might want to arrest you tomorrow, or you and me.
well,
But
well,
we both
brother,
willing.
brother, you know, I've been to lock up so many times, and
Exactly so.
I'm not afraid of anything.
Because my passion is
That's
that,
the problem. You raise a very important point that they drive fear into people who they think they can fear.
exactly, and
But if
that's the thought.
if a human being knows that they don't fear death, if the establishment knows that you don't fear death because you have to die in any
Oh,
case,
they won't
so
touch.
exactly that is the point that people have to inspire in themselves.
And I'm grateful. This conversation, of course, was a very, in my view, healthy hour for me to deal with you because I love the interactions we have, and we don't have to agree, which is what people need to see. But we'll have another broadcast or two before the week is through. I look forward to us meeting on probably tomorrow or the Friday, because we need to have these discussions and incorporate others. I would love to hear from Brother Oren McDougall, who was a counselor, trying to share with me how he would have felt or dealt with such a matter, where the police are going to deal with people in his constituency in this way. What would he have done? What would be his advice to those vendors? And how do you function? Because my argument is always what goes for one, as they say, must go for everybody. You cannot have Parika Market being what it is. You can have Water Street being what it is, but the vendors at Georgetown Public Hospital suddenly become the number one target. Monroe Market, what it is, but the vendors at Georgetown must go through what they go through. That's unacceptable. Even at Lenora, you have the issue sometimes. So thank you again, Brother Jenna.
Okay.
Always a pleasure. I look forward to another discussion with you. All right, so we talk some more. Thank you
Yeah,
so
take
much.
care. Right,
Take
right.
care and do well.
Okay.
So there you have had it, my brothers and my sisters, my enemies and my friends. I address you too. Here at the People's Movement Forum, we don't have to agree with each other. You just saw that Jenna has some different views, but we must be free to share how we feel about matters, especially those of national interest. And it remains my conviction that, number one, if these vendors had to pay any fee to the council for vending, they should not be touched. It is my conviction that if the vendors are to be removed, they should be engaged and there should be options given. For example, you should know what is the average income, each one of them, on a weekly basis or daily basis. You should know that if you move them, what do they stand to lose? Because you can assess these things economically. What do you stand to lose if you move, or what do you stand to gain? If they stand to lose, then there has to be an offsetting of that loss. We should not cripple people economically to make a point. No vendor should feel as if they are being singled out for discrimination. That's what happened in reference to this situation. Especially those who are females, single mothers. The one who said she has her son as a medical student, but he has no scholarship. She sells food to try to put her son through university. And the reward she gets for being a mother who's doing that is that her stall or her caravan must be removed. Where is the care? So we'll have some more discussions of this nature because we must speak to these matters. I will also seek to have Muslims and Hindus, if I can find them, come on the broadcast if they have the guts, the chutzpah. They can come into the studio with us and let's have a discussion about the truth. You see, you won't want this, some of you, because the truth now in Guyana is criminal. The truth is deemed to be criminal. The truth is deemed to be divisive. But we must, before I leave you, and I will do a broadcast probably in the morning, Yahweh willing, we must take note of this very fact. This and the Granger administration and the Burnham Constitution, to call it, lands this country in a very, very precarious situation when it comes to religion. Listen to me, please. If your holy books, you call the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Quran, the three main religions in this country, if your holy books, your sacred writings, prohibit you from engaging with others of different religious backgrounds, it's called haram in Islam. You're not allowed, Irfan Ali, to go to any Christmas village and dance up. You're not allowed to do it. It's haram, but you do it. And you do that in the name of uniting the country. And if somebody speaks against your actions, I am deemed to be an extremist. Which tells me then that your sacred books in Guyana are garbage. And the Constitution supersedes your faith. We'll talk about that tomorrow. This is just an introduction to it. You are not allowed in this country to exercise your religion truthfully because it offends people. And that is not what freedom of speech or freedom of religion is about. Guyana doesn't have freedom of religion. What it has is religious tolerance by Burnham, Hoyt, Jagan, Jagdeo Oliot. You are dictators, even in reference to what people believe, because if they say something based on their religious conviction, you could charge them. That's what this country is about. I thank you for your time, and I eagerly await this discussion. Let me show you the facts about this country and religion. Guyana is not a state that encourages freedom of religion. It is a lie. The Constitution of this country does not permit freedom of religion because you could be jailed for it. I could tell you my experience. The Constitution permits hypocrisy, lying, wickedness in reference to people's religious conviction. And what it promotes is a melting pot of tolerance. You all are wicked if you support this Constitution. In that regard, it has to change. Freedom of religion means that my holy book, my sacred writings, must be preeminent in my life, and you have to respect it. I can't be jailed for it. I shouldn't be. Thank you again. Let us have another conversation. Let us have another conversation that would certainly bode well for the future of this country. Do well until we meet again. Thank you so much.